Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Del Tondo. I am your host this week for the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenges. You can go over to behance.net/daily creative challenge and make sure to sign up for the XD challenges this week and next week. You'll get an email each day and a reminder with what the challenges are and be able to join us. They're designed to be about 30 to 45 minutes for you to complete. So it should be something that you can take on maybe a lunch break or a little bit after work and level up your skills in Adobe XD and in UI UX design. For those in the chat, let's see, we've got Wakar. I think I'm going to show off your project today. I really love that. Tim Mobest, one of our awesome mentors. Nyasha, good to see you guys again. And let us know where you're coming in from. Where are you tuning in from today? A couple other things I want to make sure that we can show. Let's come over to the Discord channel real quick and want to show a couple of channels. So as you complete your project each day, make sure that you come over here and click on the current challenge tab. And you can submit your Behance link or a direct link to your Adobe XD project via the share link. And hopefully we'll have some time today and I'll show you guys exactly how to do that. But you can submit your project for feedback and critique from myself and the other mentors. And we'll be excited to jump in and take a look at the work that you guys have done and give you some feedback. Kevin, repeat patterns, we're definitely going to be covering that a little bit later this week and maybe dive in a little today. But I wanted to showcase one or two projects that I thought were really great. So this first one is from Roxana. Again, just a great case study here. This feels really real. Doing a project here for Amazon, the Amazon Echo devices, and being able to did a lot of animation. We haven't even touched on much of that yet. But we can like scroll through here, see the different devices. I come over to my living room. Again, great animation on each screen. And I've been able to quickly go through and change the colors, raise the volume. I don't know if that one's linked or not, but just fantastic job on this. This is really clean. Maybe increase some of the sizes on a couple elements so it's easier to tap, but this really caught my eye. Great execution on this. And Victor from my team over at Unfold, good to see you, man. Mana from Orange County, great to see you. That's where I'm from. I also run a design meetup in Orange County once a month at Disneyland. So if you guys are in the area, come check it out and join us sometime. This other one was Jazz from Wakar. I mentioned you in chat. Really cool here, again, seeing the wireframe, super simplistic, but enough to start executing on the ideas. And I loved how you showed the different transitions that you had throughout all these screens and how they're linked up. And clearly you've worked with XD before because we haven't gotten a lot of this yet, but really great. And if you guys get a chance, jump in and check out that project. But let's jump into today's challenge. So for today, we're going to be focusing on plugins and how you can use those to speed up the workflow of your project. What I love using plugins for the most are things like quickly grabbing images, grabbing avatars. While I try not to do filler text or lorem ipsum, it can be really handy as well. But you guys can come over and check out the plugins panel, which is down here. It looks like a little Lego block. And you can also hit add and search for various plugins that might fit the needs that you have for a project. Michael Kotchenberger, good to see you, buddy. If you guys haven't checked out too, he's got some stuff on YouTube here with Adobe that's super fun to watch. But we can come over here and check out some of these plugins. Some of my favorites, PhotoSplash, which we're going to use today, which will help us quickly get photography assets for our project. Stark, for accessibility reasons, is a great plugin. And UI Faces is another one that we're going to utilize today to quickly generate some avatars. So with all of these things, my goal in using these kinds of plugins is how do I shave seconds, minutes, or maybe hours off of a project by quickly utilizing these tools. And so we'll go through and I'll show you guys that as we go. Remember to keep score on your project. So gain extra points by utilizing Adobe fonts. I want you guys to test some things. So each day I'm going to try to vary what these items are. Maybe try testing out some shadow styles. Shadows are awesome when they're done right. They're terrible when they're done wrong. So play around with different styles and find those settings that make it right for you. Add some type styles. You can go back and rewatch yesterday's video to see what that, how to set up those type styles. And then make sure to share your work on Behance and in Discord for feedback. So as I mentioned, we're going to be building a recipe app today. And so I've compiled a couple of things for inspiration. And I want to quickly point out some things here I think work really well, things that don't work. And maybe it's a pretty design, but it's not quite as usable. I do want to focus on usable and practical design, not just like eye candy to post online. And so I am going to point out like a couple of things primarily in these two items. One fault that I see here is that it is so dependent on the photography used. So in this case, I need a light background. In this case, they're using a lot of colors to make that text readable and stand out. If it was a dark photo, it wouldn't work. Same thing down here. We've got some light text on top of these images, and already it's a little tough to read. And so it's really difficult to be able to use that on an image that maybe has like a white plate or something. So we want to think through those problems and not just create something that looks good for a shot, but is really usable for our clients. I think this one here was one of the ones that I found most usable because what they've done is they've isolated the content away from the image, so they've got a consistent scenario. They can control that environment, and it'll always work going forward. And what they've done over here is created a white gradient overlay, and it works a little bit. Again, it might look funny with different images, but they have curated the images here to look really nice. And one item, I'll sneak this because this is something I'm kind of testing you guys on, and I want you to do differently than I'm about to do. But I really like down here, they've got an option to quickly go through like the recipe, how to make it, or reviews of it, rather than just like one big page with a ton of content. So with that said, let's start diving into this challenge. So I know a couple of things. I want to utilize, whoops, I'm in prototype mode. Let's switch back into design and layers mode. I want to just call this app, I'm going to call it Tasty because all this stuff is going to be tasty. And the idea here is that we want everything to be kind of like curated from top chefs that are sharing the recipes that they have. And so the idea, as we kind of set a fictional scenario, is going to be a quick ability to find chefs, find your favorite chefs, find your favorite recipes, and find the ingredients and build that out a little bit. So we know we're going to need things like a search. I'm going to quickly use Nucleo, which allows me to search based on these tags and drop some items here into my artboard. And just because of time, I'm going to be a little less OCD than usual with some precision on things, but let's start building this out. So I know I'm going to want a graphic here that's going to showcase the food, and I'm going to need at least two of those. So I'm going to grab these two elements, these two boxes, and let's just change this background color to a little gray so that way it stands out. I'm going to go over to the PhotoSplash plugin, and from here I can quickly search for different things. Now, late night San Francisco yesterday, I'm searching for a great bowl of ramen. I didn't find anything, so maybe I've got to go tonight. But I'm going to search for ramen dish. And through here, I can see the different graphics. And one thing I did notice is you can research for the same thing, and it might give you a couple of different results each time. So you can cycle through and see if you can find the dish that you like. This is the one in particular that I'm looking for. And so that saved me a ton of time. I now didn't have to go to unsplash.com or Pexels or somewhere else, search for the images, find the image, download the image, save it to my computer, go find it in my downloads folder, go drop it back into XD. It took me all of 5 seconds to do everything I needed. And I can even come in here now and like move these items around, resize, reshape. I want to make this a little bigger so his hand's not in the shot. And really easily, I've now set the foundation for this. So yes, Michael, PhotoSplash is kind of the unofficial Unsplash plugin, and it's really cool. And Pavel, good to see you, buddy. Another one of my teammates. And Andrew Calendar, good to see you. All right, so now that I've got these images, I'm gonna quickly create a little shadow box that I want behind these elements. So I'm just going to create this like that. I'm going to just put that back on top. And again, remember those shadows, you want to be really subtle. So I like about an 8 to a 16% shadow opacity. And then I'll usually drop the Y down to 10 to 20. And I like a really heavy blur, maybe something like 32. And what I want that to create, is just a very soft, very subtle shadow that we can now use in the background. And I will duplicate that down here. And I'm just going to put that right on top. All right, so now I've kind of got my two cards, and I can now come in and start adding some text. So the chicken ramen you want at midnight, because everything was closed or nobody did takeout, and I need to get some ramen later. All right, so I'm going to come in here. I'll resize this. And let's knock this down a little bit. Maybe go to 24 or something like that. All right, great. So we're just cruising along. And I also want to add some information about the chef, because that's going to be really important. So I'm going to create a quick little rule down here. Go 1 pixel. And again, I'm just going to bring that opacity down for the moment, just to create a little bit of visual separation. Then I'll bring this text down, and I'm going to select the chef, and I'll say head chef at Ramen House. All right, and we are going to bring that type down considerably. Things to know as you're working with typography. I've mentioned I'm a big advocate of accessible design. You always want to be at 16 pixels or higher to meet accessibility standards, or you can have 14 point, but it needs to be bold. So because we're using bold, we're still meeting accessible design. We're using a very dark, high contrast color, so we don't have any issues with that either. Now next, I want to create some user avatars. So I want a couple to choose from. I'm just going to create a couple of circles over here, and I'll just dupe that a couple times. Great. So now I'm going to select these items, take that border off, and I'm going to go over to the UI Faces plugin. And over here, I can select the areas that I want to pull these images from. Might be Unsplash or IMDb, other sources, and I can even select an age range. So I might say, let's do 25 to 40. I had a woman's name, so we'll use female. We can select our gender. I want them to be happy. And don't worry about hair color, and let's randomize it. And I can quickly now just hit apply faces, and I'm going to get a variety of images that I can pick from. And I hope I don't mess this up. Emily Blunt, we'll go with her. Or actually, I don't remember her name, but she's in Starship Troopers, so we're going to go with her because that's a great movie. So we are going to add that user avatar now over here. And I'm going to bring that in, and boom. It took me about 2 minutes. I've got something that looks really nice and clean, and now I can go in and apply that throughout any other areas in my design. And so I can copy that, whoops, down as we go, and I can make more cards throughout the process. So actually, let's just dupe this card really quickly. So I want to go at least one more. All right. And then I'm going to copy. And if I hit paste appearance, it'll change it to the other image that I had there. Another thing I want to have on this design is going to be my menu. So again, actually, let's add that after. I want to add a little menu navigation down here. And I want the top to be rounded. So I'm going to do, let's try 32, 32 on each side. I'm going to come back here, add my home indicator so I know where that belongs, and that should be down lower. That should be at 9 pixels from the bottom. Why it's 9, I don't know. Bring it up with Apple, but they are a little odd on the spacing of that. And then I know I'm going to need a couple things like a feed icon, go to my account, favorite recipes, favorite chefs. So I'm going to open up Nucleo, And I'm going to do things like I'm going to grab a heart really quickly. And I'm going to grab these outline styles. So I'm going to do a heart. I'm going to do a feed. This one I'm going to do filled in, and you guys will see why in a moment. I'm going to do menu. I'll grab this one because I'm going to put it on the right. And I want to do chefs. So I'm going to grab a chef hat. Okay, great. And Denise Richards, thank you. I thought I knew it, but I didn't want to be totally wrong. And then let's talk about how we want to properly space our items. So I know that if I want, again, I'm a little off because I'm going quickly, but if I want 32 spacing on each side, bring that in just a hair, and I have 4 icons, I'm going to want to divide this by 4. And I know it's going to give me a fraction, and I would modify this a little bit so that I got more average whole numbers. But I've got these 4 items, and I'm now going to pull these over, and I'm going to place these evenly within. That way everything feels right. I don't want things to be spaced oddly. I want to have that nice, consistent spacing with everything. Okay. And if you guys have any questions as we go, let me know in chat and I will try and address those too. Okay, so now I've got my 3 items. I'm going to space these all evenly, just make sure that's right. Okay, great. Now I'm going to change the color on these a tad to something that I've got already pre-ready in my palette. And this item here, I'm going to do a circle to give this a selected state because I want this to be clearly identified as the page that we are on so that the user knows where they are at. Awesome. So I've now got my menu navigation. It's clear they know that they're on the feed page. They can go and tap into the other sections, which if you guys have some time, build out. But let's get going here on the recipe page. All right. And Emily, good to see you. Another one of the friends from Orange County. And let's see, there should be an option to send bugs. Yes, I think if you guys go to user voice, if you have any features or requests or bugs, definitely go to the Adobe XD user voice and report that kind of stuff right away. All right, so over here, we are going to bring over some of these elements. So I'll temporarily just kind of copy this card over. I'm going to remove some of these items. But I know I want to do some fun things with this, so I'm going to make this, I'll change that one out to the lighter one later, but I want to bring this image to be a little bit more full screen. So I'm going to bring this up quite a bit. And again, I can double tap and change the masking of that. And I want to do a similar style here towards the bottom where I want this to overlap the image a bit. Oops. Change that mask. All right. Cool. So I want something like this now. And I want to add the avatar. I'm going to modify that and move the avatar up here. And I'm going to make that a bit bigger. Let's go maybe 64. And I'm going to add a little bit of a border around it, and I'm going to make that white, just so that way there's like a little bit of a cutout, essentially. I'm going to put that on the outside. And I'm going to move our text over here. Let's make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Something like that. We've got our info here. Let's maybe move this one to the top. All right, again, I'll clean up some spacings after, but we're moving quick. So we can come in, I might even make this text a tad bigger in this section, but we can focus on that. later. So now I want to have a little bit more information. So as the user taps into this page, we know we need them to be able to favorite. So let's add a favorite icon up here. Let's make that, let's go with a dark. And I want that to stand out a little bit more. So I'm actually going to throw a circle behind this as well. All right, so something like that. And we need a back button. So let's jump on over here. We'll do arrow left. And very quickly, I can grab something. I can always, whoops, I can always change that later. All right. And one little quick tip here with your icons is you always want to make sure that it fits in a container. So you want to set this up to be, whoops, 24 by 24. And I'm just going to make this red so we can see it. And I want that icon to fit here. So even if it's not the same direct height or the same width, I want it to fit in that structure so that when I put it over here, it does feel consistent with everything else going in. So we can delete that now. All right, and then we're gonna come down here really quickly and we are gonna add in our ingredients. And I wanna go with a more simple type for this kind of stuff. And then I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna create a text area for those ingredient lists. And again, for the moment, I'm gonna lorem ipsum this with some placeholder text, and I'm gonna use the lorem ipsum plugin, and I can quickly just fill that area. I'm gonna wanna bring that up to 16 for accessibility, remove bold. I'm gonna lighten this to 767676, which is the lightest shade of gray you can use on white to pass accessibility standards. And I'm gonna bump up the line height so this is much more readable. And then over on the side, we can use maybe a similar style to this, where we can have things like, let's change the shading here to this light color. I can remove that. And maybe we'll add some items here that showcase things like time. So I could add a clock. I could put that in here. And then I could even do something underneath where I showcase what the time would be. So this is going to take 25 minutes. Center that up and pull that over. And now I actually pulled in a real recipe for this and it's gigantically long. So let me show you guys, since we've got about another minute here, what that looks like on the side after this is filled in. So what I did was I wanted to create some different hierarchy, have ingredients as a main area. As we go down later, you'll see it transitions into recipes, and then it breaks down the different parts of the ingredients of this this recipe, and then going into the recipe preparation and the different things that you want to do for this. But over here, what I wanted to set up was just a little area where we showcase quickly that the user can scan. It's going to take me about 25 minutes to do this, which is totally inaccurate with this recipe if you guys take a look at this later. But it's going to show calories, how many people it serves, and it gives folks an idea if this is something that they want to create. So a couple other screens that I would encourage you guys to maybe explore as you build this out is going to be, what does it look like if I maybe tap on the chef and want to find out more about them and the other recipes that they offer and what I could find. It's very common, if I like her recipe for this, I'd like other recipes. So I want to explore and favorite some chefs. What does it look like for my favorite recipes and how do I scan through that? So hopefully this is giving you guys a little bit of the building blocks to go forward and build a couple more screens with that. So we'll take maybe a question or two, and then I think we'll be wrapping up for today's segment. Andrew, I totally want more ramen. I need to go find some after this today. And yes, I'm not this quick. I've prepped all the screens for the next 2 weeks already, and then I'm changing them like morning of. So it does take more time than this. You guys are seeing a very quick rendition of it all. But pen to paper, you know, I've been working on this stuff for a couple of weeks. The icons, you can totally take a lot of time, but I really encourage you guys either utilize assets like Adobe Stock, some paid assets like Streamline icons or Nucleo icons. They'll save you a ton of time and be able to use those resources. And make sure to check out the other plugins that are available in XD and see how you can use those to expedite your workflow and go from there. Derwin, great tutorial. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. And I think that will wrap it up for today, but we will be back tomorrow with another challenge, and we've got some other fantastic guests today. So make sure you tune in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.